Hello, everybody. It's Tom Tuesday. Do you have your tacos and tea? Wow, is it tea? Hello, Tom, and hello, everybody. A great big welcome to you from Aquarius, rising Africa, as per usual, where spring has sprung and the weather is sweet. I was out and about on the lake and the lagoon this morning on a little boat with my friend and her little boy, and it is just absolutely beautiful. So I had a really good start to the day, and I hope you guys are having a good start to your day as well. I know you guys are just starting up there, we ending off here. So, hi Tom, how are you?
Good. I'm hearing echo. Is there an echo on your side? Like a loop?
I I don't hear the echo, no.
Let me see if I have something going here. Maybe I've got something on here I need to um, address.
Sorry, guys, we'll be with you in a minute. We clearly
There we go.
having
I
a
think we
little.
got it. I think we got it. Okay, good. Good.
Is
Okay, we're
that
good.
better?
Yep, that was interesting. It was like a wait. That's why my eyes were going like, "What's going on?" But yeah. Cool. Okay, we're good.
Just
We're good.
if you guys in the chat can just let me know if you guys are all good with the sound. I know from one of our previous shows last week, someone was saying there was an echo as well. Um, so I hope it's all good. Anyway, welcome everybody again. Now that you're not echoing, well, we should probably be echoing. It's probably a good sign.
Yeah.
So how's it, Tom? How's the week been? What's been happening in your neck of the woods?
It seems like miracle after miracle. It's just, you know how when things just start to line up perfectly and it's God took over your schedule and it's just like pop, 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 pop. You're going, wow, everything fell into place like a Dr. Seuss book. It was
Yeah,
wild. Yeah. So that's kind of my week.
cool. So it's good things I'm taking then.
Very good things. Very good
What
things.
what's been happening? What's been falling into place?
Oh
Tell
my
us.
gosh. Well,
Yeah,
there's layers to it, of course.
always.
We seem to know exactly what the opposition plans before they do it, are able to short circuit it. We've been able to do programs where we announce their plans and then they react. Right now, they're the ones dancing on the strings, and it's like we were given that palette, wherever that is, to play it.
Yeah.
It's something switched. Yeah.
Just on maybe a slightly different note,
Mhm.
but still all in the same vein. Um, I'd be interested to know your take on things like The Simpsons and I always forget this other one. I know the one guy's name is Kyle, also cartoon, and they swear a lot. What's it called? I can't
South
remember.
Park. South Park.
Yes, South Park. I always forget it. So I want to know from your, and I mean, on some of the shows we've done with Jesse, with especially with the stuff that we're seeing in, especially The Simpsons, right?
Right.
Because they're predicting. I mean, a lot of the stuff they're predicting is already there,
Right.
right? And they like doing all of the stuff. But we also understand that a lot of that comes from the kids, like Jesse has specifically spoken about that kids that were taken into the system that are put into these various programs, like I think it was Voice of God, Star Wars Now,
Mhm.
and The Looking Glass. And these kids literally look at the situations and predict a probable outcome.
Mhm.
And that's then what they're predicting. So I would just like to know your take on that, actually.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely agree. Look at the work I was given to do. I was groomed early age to be in that very group's situation by these agencies, and this came out. And I'm not trying to, pander it. I'm just saying this whole work is now considered prophetic by the inside. They're still trying to quote use up the rest of the story. So here's proof that from that childlike experiences and knowledge, everything's coming true. Everything's coming true in this. And so it must drive the agencies crazy. And what they do is they try to recruit us, contain us at a young age. So I would totally agree. And look at Looking Glass. I mean, Looking Glass, what's all through the Matrix? Alice in Wonderland, Eat Me, Drink Me. The whole thing is there. The White Rabbit. They added it all. And so we're considered basically the lost kids, like Lost Boys, Lost, that series. It's like we're considered the ones that could be made into draconian kind of like beings that could then service the state, where they control our outcome and our journey. But many
But
of us
don't you think as well, for me as well, I think about these things because my expertise, if you will, lies in energy, and I understand how energy works. I see it, I perceive it, I kind of get what it does, right? So these guys are masters when it comes to understanding anything regarding the esoteric. So let's say, for example, I would think that they would have used some form of mind control, but I don't quite know if I would use the word mind control as strongly as obviously MK Ultra and stuff like that. But it's like, let's say, for example, the one that comes to mind is they predicted Trump would be president. So that was like, let's say 10 years ago or 15 years before it happened. I don't actually know. But don't you think just the idea that they've put it there, they've put it into the series, and let's say 10 million people are watching. 10 million people are thinking and reading at the same time or at any given time, Trump for president in whatever it was, 2016 or 15 or 20, whatever it was. Sorry, I don't know. But it's like already just putting that out there, giving that visual to people. And we know now, and I'm sure that would be in a similar vein to spell casting, what they would call spell casting, because really spell casting is speaking or writing words over something or someone, right? And we're doing it all the time. So when they're putting it out there, let's say in The Simpsons, like Trump is going to be president whenever, 10 million people, probably more, watching that at any given time, thinking that thought. As they read it, they think it, right? Whether they like it or don't, there's an energy, a friction created around that. And especially if they don't like it, right? People would go, oh, what do you mean, Trump for president, or whatever the case might be. But there's a friction that goes on around that thought or that perception, which then creates energy around it, which really then gives them their desired outcome at the end of the day. So in so many ways, in my opinion, that's all subliminal programming as well, right?
I agree. I totally agree. There's a scripture, I can't quote it exactly, but it confused me when I was little. It was where this gentleman or something comes up behind Christ, or before he's Christ, Jesus, and says, here's the Son of God. And Jesus says something like akin to, get behind me, Satan. And I'm like, well, he just said, here's the Son of God. That sounds good. But then I realized it really is the control of who's going to have control of the dialogue, who's going to have control of the information, who's going to have control of the outcome. And that made sense to me then, that somebody saying that would be like, I'm an authority, I'm in control, I'm saying, here's the Son of God, I'm somebody to listen to, I'm somebody you should be paying attention to. It's interesting that is going on these days. There's a whole thing where, like, here's the example again. I hate when I hold it up, so I do it. Here's a work, right, that has keys and all kinds of things coming true in it. And so what did they do recently? If you look on IBM or whatever, I'm being told over and over, you see Tom Althouse as owner of Matrix 4. So what they're doing is they're putting it up there where I'm not claiming Matrix 4, but they're putting me up claiming the worst one of all. And it's interesting that they're trying to, it's almost like that thing where they're calling out, where they're owning it. And then that makes me suspect to the rest of the people going, well, how come he has ownership of that? If, something must have happened inside. There must have been dealings going on. They can create confusion by owning the platform, the dialogue, and they certainly own the platforms. So what we need to do is break free. They can't control really those of us that are child. Now, Sophia Stewart uses the word prodigies. You'll see her talking about herself as a prodigy all the time. Prodigies don't talk about themselves as prodigies all the time. those that aren't prodigies will announce themselves as prodigies all the time. In Game of Thrones, the one Tyrion Lannister's dad says, you know, to the one boy who's becoming a ruthless king, you know, a king that has to call himself a king is not really a king. You know, a king has to tell a subject, you know, it's the same thing. So what I've been doing is studying all these films and series that I've been informed is centered around with HBO and Warner Brothers sticking all my stuff in, and they're giving us answers. And so I've been harvesting that, taking pictures of it, including like seeing my birthmark, like I said, my very birthmarks on the Night of Flowers, and they use that to convict them later as I bump the flowers. But the point, back to the original point here, I'm thinking in layers here, obviously, I'm talking layers, is that they want to control the narrative. They want to control the dialogue. They want to control who comes, rises, who falls. And they want to be the ones that tell us, as you said, like in South Park, pay attention to this, pay attention to this, pay attention to this person, pay attention to this person. One of the dichotomies, one interesting things I've been noticing is you see this struggle among those of us that were child, you know, spotted as children with gifts in this realm in the agencies. We have to navigate a emotional current of how do we remain calm in the presence? Like they train us to be calm, but we have all these feelings. And they said this, they say, don't feel for anyone. And then you'll see them crash on you as we become adults and speak on the air. When we show feelings, they'll put us down for showing feelings. Because it's almost like that, you know, old adage from the Victorian period with children, you know, they're to be seen, not heard. And it's like there would be
so true. Sorry to interrupt.
I gave you a lot. I layered a lot on there, but if you navigate that, yeah.
I mean, it's so true, you know, when you talk about the feelings and stuff, because we've been taught over the years not to feel, and especially men. I mean, but let's also just go back to recent years. I mean, our parents and their parents and their parents are literally all just products of the war, right? If you look at all the wars that have ripped this world apart over the last few centuries, okay, well, let's say decades, bring it into our time. Think about young men going off, right? I mean, and I know my mom, she was born, so she knew her father. But her sister, my grandmother fell pregnant with my mom's sister, my aunt. And while she was pregnant, he went off to war and came back 5 years later. This child had no idea who he was, right? And I know that in itself created issues within their relationship going all the way through. But also, if we think about young men that have gone to war and experienced these atrocities that a man can see in these horrible places, right? And then is expected to come home without any form of counseling, healing, therapy, whatever, right? And is expected to be a well-functioning father. Firstly, I'd say 95%, if not 100% of these guys coming back would all have some form of PTSD that remains untreated, that remains hovering in the shadows. I just look at South Africans from our Bush War days and I see the ramifications of that. These guys, the minute they start drinking, they would go completely bananas, right? Alcohol, because that's also, if you think about how guys, I mean, especially guys here, they would go and have these horrendous bush war fights, come home at night and decompress in a pub. So alcohol becomes the crutch, right? So that's what numbs the feelings. But of course, it turns into something very toxic along the line. So as we're looking at this, we realize, and then of course you get the mothers of these sons, right, that have been killed at war. Their grief has never been dealt with, right? And the families, the grief has never been dealt with. So really we're born into wounds as human beings, and very little energy and effort has been given into that industry until recent years. If we think about it, psychology and psychiatry only came about in the 60s, really. And, you know, a psychiatrist he can only subscribe meds, or she can only subscribe meds. They can't counsel, right? They're medical doctors. Psychology is more on the other side, but it's so new in so many people. And we're just looking at how humanity has suffered because of unresolved feelings, which turn to pain, which turn to violence, which turn to aggression, which turn to a lot of destructive actions at the end of the day. So what we really need to be doing is looking within. And I keep coming back to this, whether you are a man or a woman, a child or an adult, right? It's all about understanding yourself, because when you understand yourself, you understand those around you. I mean, it's crazy. We're living in such a wounded war. We're living in we are all wounded. And we need to find ways that we can resolve that, because with our wounds, we actually we can't be discerning, right? When you're wounded, you can't be discerning, and you can't have true integrity with yourself.
Right.
As long as you are wounded.
You made me think of something too, Chantelle. We all need a vacation from the agencies. We all need a vacation from the agencies and their grip on this world. And they've kept the stress level high on people. They've kept, they played their little organ with their colors of we're red, we're yellow, we're the garbage of these nerds. We need to be free of these agency nerds. And that's really what we do. We need them defunded, because they have played humanity and wanted to keep in power. And that went all the way to the Pentagon. And so I'm going right with this into the main core of our problem. They're intervening overseas. They're disrupting different groups. They're forming these allegories. It's like what we need is for the natural leaders to lead, the ones that actually are child endowed leaders, you know, to lead with heart and compassion. That's been taken out of the system. When you're brought in by the agencies, like I was, probably like Jesse was, first thing they strip away is our feeling. They try to strip away your feelings and your compassion. That's the first thing that goes out the door. And they run you through scenarios to make sure you lose that. And they subject you to these horrors to make sure that you don't contain it. They try to put it that you become a self-centered person. Then they accuse you of being a narcissist. But many of us are endowed with an ability to never lose our compassion. It's part of why we are, if you want to say chosen, to receive these information and these ideas and flow. We have to have compassion, humility, and kindness in order to be receivers. And that's where the agencies are so stupid, because they kill the conduit. They kill the ability to receive through their stupid little programs. And I'd love to give that card back. Yeah.
I think they, you know, when we're looking at that, firstly, you know, going back to, again, the beginning of your comment here was that, you know, they have created this, literally, I mean, in a nutshell, this prison in which we live.
Yes.
But we've allowed it. And I know this probably does not make me very popular. But when I say we've allowed it, how have we allowed it? To me, it's simple. We've created for ourselves a very narcissistic society. We live in a mirror universe, right? So we cannot deny that. So if we are absolutely controlled by narcissistic energy, way beyond narcissistic energy, okay, these guys don't have emotions. Right. They don't care. Right. They, you know, when we're looking at the types of entities we're dealing with that are controlling our planet, there's not an iota of empathy within them. They are dealing, you know, their whole objective is for money, power, greed. Their food is blood and energy, and that's it. And they don't care how they get it, and they're going to get it. So they've gotten to us because they've been able to disconnect us from the true essence of who we are. So as long as we're remaining disconnected, stuck to our iPhones, watching TV, playing Xbox, staying in high-rise buildings, never going out, we are their prey. And if we listen to mainstream media and fall for all that nonsense, and not just mainstream media, it's very clear that in our communities as well, there's been lots of intervention from all sorts of dodgy characters. My point is, when we are sitting with ourselves and are able to discern who we are, what we need, and start applying that in our own circles, that's when others catch on as well. We hear all the time, and really, and I keep saying, we're at a time where we're running out of time. When I say running out of time, I'm not a fearmonger, but all we have to do is look to see what's going on around us. Look at the climate control situation right now. Look at the lengths to which these guys are going in order to instill their agenda. They don't care about human life or any other life. We're not dealing with humans. So we are the ones that have to rise in our consciousness in order to get out of this hell. I say hell in inverted commas, because as long as we're in someone's control, then it's not free. We're in jail.
Absolutely. And that's part of the thing about that dichotomy of we're to be calm, present ourselves as calm, but children and animals respond to genuine feeling and freedom to feel and show that we care.
Not a numbness, not a
said about, yeah, like the military people returning from wars, you were supposed to be calm in their homes again. And it's like, what about a lively exchange of, here's how I feel about you, and here's what, allowing them to actually express themselves, to get beyond that. And like you had said earlier, which I really love, we can be in charge of who we are internally. We can be in charge of, and the other side will respond to that. They do. The reason I keep getting approached, they say, is because they're fans of the work, but they also are fans of how I survived. And it's like, and kept my character intact. I still feel they're amazed I can cry on the air. They thought I should be just plastic and numb, and part of that, like I said, was the murder of my sons and letting me know they were murdered and cutting off from all family. So it's like, I just have my mom and my son left now in my circle. That's it for my family, my entire extended family, from cousins, nephews, nieces. All I have left is my son and my mom from the buy-offs of the agencies. So what you have is, but do we still laugh? Yes. Do we cry? Yes. Do we laugh and cry? Yes. We are in charge of our internal selves, like you said, and no one else can have that. If we safeguard that and keep our character intact through everything they throw, we will have won. We all have won because we have something they don't have. They want to break us as they are broken. They want to make us lose our feelings as they have no feelings. Then they'll feel that they are on the winning side and they're the right, that they were right all along. It's like when they put things in front of us. If we do not break, if we still feel, and they say us feeling, and they see loved ones like this wonderful audience feeling back and forth, each of us for each other, as we tell our stories and tell our truths, then we have won as a group. And that's what they fear most. And they fear that that can be contagious. So I would love you to talk more about, even though you're the host, more about how we safeguard who we are, like those sessions you did where we look into bringing back who we are at our core and feeling again is really how we can defeat them on a basic fundamental 101 level, the first step.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's such an important part of our journey right now, is to really, as you say, look within, see where things in your life are dragging you down. See which areas in your life are dragging you down, because when you can recognize that, and when you can be honest enough with yourself, you see, I think what's happened over the years as well is part of this. And for those who watched last week, we were speaking about this programming, right? This subliminal programming that they're forever doing. And I do believe in terms of mental / emotional health, that has been a very similar thing. where our emotions have been nullified, but without realizing for us, you see, these guys know that your emotions are your fuel. It's like fuel in your car. Your emotions are your fuel. So your emotions are either going to take you on a downhill spiral and take you straight into the abyss if you don't contain them, or they're going to be the thing that catapults you into that elevated state of consciousness that literally raises you. It's like, think about being in a swamp with all this negative stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
What happens now? It's like suddenly you're breaking free, and now you're the bird flying above the swamp. No matter what crocodile tries to come out of there and munch you, it's not going to get you because you've elevated, you found your wings, and you're flying now. You've learned how to fly. You see, that's what we look for. It's not about somebody coming to drag me out of the swamp and now putting magical potions on me, and now suddenly I've been released. Part of our journey here is to elevate and expand our consciousness. And we do so through negativity, unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever way you look at it. If you're looking at the Eastern teachings, they're talking about suffering. The suffering of the human mind is what holds us back. And suffering really is an element in the mind. The day we choose to not suffer anymore, we make a choice to not suffer. It's like you literally then unlock another door.
Mm-hmm.
And behind that door is all the healing you need, and all the answers you require, and all the anecdotes and the medicines, if you will, that are there that will be the balm for your wounds or the truth of situations, because mostly we don't see the truth of situations, which is why we get caught up in the drama and we get stuck there. So when we decide to do that and we realize we are created from our divine creator God, God has our back all the time, every moment of every day. All we have to do is tune our ears to hear. We're hearing too much out there. We're not going to hear when there's that much there. And these guys know that. So that's why there's one psyop after the other. There's one drama after the other. They're creating more and more fear as they go along. Every situation just instills more fear in humanity. Mm-hmm. And the more they do that, then that's their loosh, right? They know they feed off that. That's their food. Right. So they do more of that. And the more we realize what's going on, we can not feed them anymore. Because we are feeding them with our frustrations, our fears, our angers, our sorrows, our griefs. We feed that energy. And that is the only way I can put it. And each and every one of us, it's our responsibility to heal ourselves so that we become part of the army that elevates. Unless we've done it ourselves.
There's expected reactions. There's expected programmed responses that socially are placed upon us as individuals, that if we have the loss of a loved one, we're expected to behave a certain way and react a certain way. If we are set upon and lose our property, we're to react and act a certain way and go through certain channels. They have us like rats down a maze, going down response avenues that are regulated and delegated to us. And what really needed to be doing is thinking outside the box. And that's something I was forced upon myself, was when I had like the loss of the sons and told that they were gone, I had to, I feel like, endure mocking on air, where it was like, it doesn't look like he cares. And then it was like, he's too emotional. It just all these judgment calls where that itself tries to narrow you down to a corridor response where you follow a predictable demonstration of what you feel. And it's like, when we free up from that, and I've always admired in literature and things, those characters that say, damn the torpedoes. It's like, I'm not gonna behave in a particular pattern. In fact, in the original work that I was given to do, it was channeled through me by God. The character succeeds in breaking the architect's plan because he remains unpredictable. And so then what they throw at us, if we seem unpredictable, then they'll say you're crazy. But it's like, but if you have multi-layers of feeling, then you're scary to society. But if it's all positive layers of feeling, then we are something that maybe society needs, as an example of expressing ourselves. So we don't become their model. We become what the world should be. And as groups we form together, we can show a different way of living. And they are bankrupt, as we said, for feelings, bankrupt. They are afraid of a better party. They're afraid of a better celebration. They're afraid of social dynamics that are more interesting and charismatic than what they have. They're basically desk jockeys often, sitting around tapping phones, putting and following their orders for reward. It's like a biscuit from the chute, that every time they do what they're supposed to do, they get a little reward, a biscuit from the chute, like they did in Lost when they're in the cages. That's their life. And I can see what happened. Like when I bring up my sister, I want to have an illustration, the best one. She lost her soul. Her humanity is gone. And it's like when I watch her, the difference of who she was before, that dynamic, lovely woman changed into something that was, she became the system. It's almost like body snatchers, the old body snatchers. When the person goes and sees the one they love and they're like, calls out to them, and the person turns around and goes, oh, screams at them. It's like totally in the system, totally gone. That should prompt us again. The reaction I believe I should have to that I want, is I'm going to look to help others. Let her go. She's already, I'm going to help others. If they made their decision, because they try to tie us down with that, say you got to save your loved one. If the person's made their choice to be that way, I can't save them, but I can help the others she would harm. And and if we allow them to harm us, we can't help protect others from harm. So that's where compassion is such a key. Anyway, I went a roundabout on it, but if you see my world there, I look in all kinds of layers, and it's like that's the layers I'm looking at. It give it a little roundabout.
Yeah, I agree with you, because I think that being of service to others as well is really such an important key at this time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so important to recognize as well. And this is where I think a lot of I find speaking to people who've been quite religious, because somehow the narrative or the conditioning is that you are not important. You should be giving to others all the time. Now, I'm not saying that those are the words that are used, but that is really, so when you're self-caring or when you're having something that you enjoy doing, that's not a good thing. Mm-hmm. You should be doing that all the time for others. Now, that to me, for starters, makes absolutely no sense, because think about a car. And if you are a car that's taking a lift club of kids 3 times a week, and you don't have fuel in your car, right? You're not going to be able to take the kids on their lift club to school or wherever it is. So you have to be able to fuel up before you can do and be of service to others in a good and constructive way. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you become a martyr. And you see, we don't want martyrs in the world anymore. Now, what is a martyr? A martyr is someone who absolutely will go out there and be there for the masses, whether it's animals, children, people, old, sick, young, whatever it might be, and gives endlessly. But wow, if you look at their own lives, often you're going to find they've got hardly no money, right? Their space that they live in is in shatters. Their relationships are in tatters. That's what I'm saying. Their personal life, their personal habits, they might be, and very often you're going to find this, by the way, they've got a very dark side to them. Mm-hmm. So that energy of always giving has to have its opposite. So you often find there's clandestine addictions relating to a martyr, by the way. Clandestine being the operative word, and only those that are closest, nearest, and dearest will often know about that. So what I'm saying is that when you look at that and you understand what it is that you're dealing with, so you are here to give, but you have to give yourself first so that you are fueled up. So you need to take your quiet time. You need to do your inner work. You need to go and take your day on the lagoon. Hello, Alice. Alice is my school friend, and she comes from the same place that I do. I was on the lagoon this morning. Anyway, so that's what I'm saying. And then when you have that in you, when you have that feel-good manner, that's God's manner, you see, then you've activated God's manner. And when God's manner is active in your energy, you share it unconditionally. There is no conditions attached. You give because you can, and the more you give, the more you get. That's the point we need to get to, where we're not exhausted and falling over ourselves because we've given so much. And also what that does, it breeds a lot of resentment inwardly as well. So eventually when you've been this martyr for 15 years, you might have a meltdown and then say, well, the world doesn't appreciate you and you're doing everything for everyone and no one ever. That's, or the victim, right? Then you become the victim.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, you have to find that balance. You're not going to be able to give to someone, and especially in these times when we need, until you yourself have given back to you. And you have to find the way to do that. It can't be authentic and lasting if it's not that way.
Right. And you're going to lose friends when you make that turn that corner. And it's okay. It's like the ones that understand you and value you and you value them will let you take that transition. And I've been through that. And it's like the ones I lost, they weren't good friends. You know, it's like they were always receiving from me and receiving from me, receiving from me when I was in that state. And it's interesting that the other side will throw narcissist at you, right? Delusional, narcissist, all this stuff. They throw what they are. But that's to keep you in that cycle also of just giving everything away. And it's like, you know, so now I've been at the point now where I enjoy doing special things for myself, for my son, for loved ones, and doing it together. You know, I really do. And also saying that my time isn't available to everyone just to take. I enjoy when it's fruitful and it's helpful, that I share it with other people too. But I am taking some time for myself also. And that seems to have turned a corner with the other side, where apparently that's not something they expect you to do when they pigeonhole you into a certain type of personality traits. So a series of personality traits. So we break their wheel by doing the unexpected. The unexpected is doing what's right for you and your loved ones and for the world by allowing yourself to be nurtured, calm in a way where you're actually happy internally and able to be very productive and very fruitful and beat them at their game, you know, destroy them because you have a center that's at great peace and not on a cross, not martyred. So I agree with you. And there's a difference. I've gone through a great journey. Many people have seen me go through a journey, and I hate the word me, but it's like, yes, this particular author has gone through a journey. And if anybody looks at clips from the past, you'll see all kinds of jockeying for, you know, getting a grounding on how to best solve this crisis, this problem, and make a better world. That's been my focus. And now I know that by being this way, you know, I know I'm better than the ones that are harming others. I know I have the gifts because they sought me out to utilize those gifts and control them. I know what I wrote is solid. I know that because I didn't give it out until I felt it was perfected and it came from God. So it's like, and now I'm getting even more creativity flowing, because if you are happy, you know, and you're able to get through that one hurdle, which was your sons are dead, how could you ever be happy? It's like they kept throwing at me, you can't be happy if your sons are murdered. They'll tell me your sons were killed, you know, killed your sons, they're murdered, your last son. It's like, I'm not going with that anymore. I'm doing this in their memory, And I'm going to also help other children by looking at what's what and not compromising what I know and what I'm told. I'm going to utilize it. So you take their arrows, you put them in your own quiver, and you're ready to shoot them back. So again, there's a layered, I talk in layers. I'm looking at a couple things at the same time while I'm talking. But that's another thing they don't understand. So they'll say, oh, it's so convoluted. He's talking all over the place. He's all over the map. People that understand layered thinking will go, no, he's centered, definitely center pointed, and could say to the other side, you guys can't see it because you think one thing to their side. You can't see the full picture. We're describing full pictures when we talk. They're looking at a pixel. They don't know how to actually.
Yeah, you know what's interesting when you look at the inversion of how that is, because when you look at how people in the system work, whether it's the kids that have been weaponized or whether it's just people generally, the different covens and things, or the military guys, right? Each one has their job and only they know what they're doing, and maybe 2 or 3 other people within that cell or within that unit, and they don't talk about it, right? So it's all very secular and it's all very segregated. And I think that's because if we look at the way the inversion works, it's divide and conquer, right? So it's separated, splitting, doing the DID, splitting the personality, splitting the psyche,
right?
And then separating and individualizing each thing. And now when we turn that upside down, we've got the opposite of that, which is the full consciousness, right? That is just like one big, my friend who's a brilliant skydiver talks about the ocean of gas. He says, I don't jump out of the aeroplane. I jump into the ocean of gas, and there I play.
That's nice.
And you see, so it's how we choose to use our words. And remember, words are spell casting, so is writing. So when you choose to see things in a different way, I choose to see these guys, these controllers, as my teachers. Honestly, I do. Mm-hmm. And if someone can bind me in a certain way, that means I'm bindable. So fair game. You bound me. Now let me see what it is I need to do to get out of this bind. And it's not a fight, because the more you fight and struggle, the tighter the bind gets. Mm-hmm. So you have to be smart. This is not warfare like we understand it in earthly terms. We're talking spiritual expansion and spiritual evolution here. Mm-hmm. So through going within, be still, like my favorite verse in the Bible, be still and know that I am God. Mm-hmm. So you be still, you go within. And by going within in those moments, in your times of greatest need, in your darkest hour, that's when the veil is the thinnest. Don't ever forget that. Mm-hmm. It's literally a nanosecond before you get that incredible breakthrough, right? So you want to be in that moment, and suddenly it's like the tentacles release. Suddenly the light comes in. Suddenly clarity hits, and boom! It's like you're under this murky sea, and suddenly, boom! You're free of this net, and you're going upwards.
Yes, that's
almost what I'm saying.
It's like we're a universe unto ourselves, where
totally.
We do not allow them to divide and conquer ourselves internally. They divide ourselves. And so I was interesting too, I thought about how our schooling education system, the public schooling system, often, when they take us into classes as children, we come in vibrant often, having had maybe 5 years of, or 4 to 5 years of, expressing, learning, seeing nature, responding to animals, things like that, seeing the world through our own eyes. And then we come into these teachers telling us this is a blade of grass. This is the scientific, this is this. And what I realize is, just like the storytellers of the old, when it was oral traditions, it's the feeling we get when we approach a subject or a particular item. Say the bark of a tree bark. We have a feeling sometimes that comes into us emotionally with that tactile experience and with the awe and wonderment that goes with it, that could carry into our adult lives where we do not let that be stripped away, where even if I'm 80 years old and walk up to a tree bark and have that wonderment and that feeling again that I had as a child when I touched that tree bark, then they have not succeeded. And our
Exactly.
education system takes that away. Our education system, public system, often takes away the feeling that we have with our environment and
The
tactile.
connection, that
Yeah.
feeling of connection, because it's not tangible, right? And you see, again, let's look at the inversion. Everything that we're being doused with right now has to do with buying, complying, listening, right? It's a complete buying culture. Disconnect, stay on your smartphone 24/7. Put your children in front of that so you can do whatever. Give the kids their phone and while they're eating dinner. I mean, it's a total society of disconnection. So if you are disconnected in that way, and if you are brought up to be disconnected in that way, that's what you're going to carry through, because you actually have no other understanding or knowledge, right? But when you're a child that has been brought up in nature, or at least spent a substantial amount of time in nature, appreciating a flower, appreciating the rain, appreciating the wind and the cold and the sun, right? Appreciating that nature is such an integral and necessary part of our development, successful development, you know.
Yeah.
We then, and that's when I say we then start planting our own food. We then start creating a herb garden, eating our own herb, little things like that. We start getting back to connection.
Yeah.
Because, and that's the connection you have with nature, which then translates into your connection with food. And we know by now food is our medicine. Instead of pumping our bodies full of vitamins and this and that, making some dude wealthy, really go grow your own food, because your food is your medicine. So when we start doing things like this, we start becoming more conscious. We then start reconnecting with ourselves and our own creator or God, divine source, right? Whatever you choose to call it. And when you have that connection spiritually, you're then able to feel it with another, whether it's a tree, an animal, a plant, another human being. And that's exactly it. When we reestablish that connection, our consciousness, we can connect to a tree. And also just the idea, maybe just the memory of you as a child having that feeling, you hold it within you, will then be activated the next time you walk past in a forest or whatever, and you feel the urge to touch that tree, because tree spirits are very, very much alive and well. And by the way, not all of them are good. So don't be calling any tree spirits, and don't be putting any Christmas trees in your house.
Well,
True story.
I think it's interesting. Like, you go back to childhood real quick and look at the dynamics of our social structure as put in place for adults. Back in the day when we would have children playing together, right? Often you'd have a child come up and say, "We're going to play house. You'll be the dad. I'll be the mom. You're going to be this. We're going to do it this way." And the children start to gravitate away often because they don't want to be in a structured, dominated, dictated game. They want to have it so it's freed up where we're all contributing and things like this. That's a natural desire, so we don't get bored and stagnant. But what happens in adulthood, it seems like that those people won. The ones that want to be, you're the dad, you're the mom, we're going to play this game, we're going to play house, and we're bored to tears as adults because that's the game set up, and that's they won. They finally forced their way through. Basically, we need to go back to the games where it's like, it's always changing. It's always dynamic. Where, if I could set the world differently, I'd say we all be in, I know I get a lot of flack for this, doing different jobs. We do that as parents. We do different jobs, right? So in the corporate world, why not be able to do different jobs? And if I get my studios and things like this, I'm going to let people do different jobs, be different things, and experience what everybody else experiences. And therefore, you're able to help in any area needed. And you'll also be a lot more stimulated in your mind and more creative, probably, because you're not going to be just the guy punching the stamps, every day, the same thing, and get a watch at the end.
But you see, that's why we need to rediscover our passion. You know,
Yes.
that's the whole thing. Creativity. One of the things that we've been seriously disconnected from is creativity. Um, being arty, whatever that is for you, whether it's drawing, painting, music, anything like that, because we've been taught that that is rubbish and that is unnecessary. But
Mhm.
it is such a necessary part of a healthy development that, I mean, this is why, I mean, why do kids get play therapy? Why don't we continue to get play therapy throughout life, right? We should, especially when we're adults, we should be getting play therapy, because the more we're able to play, the more we then literally activate the juices within us. And the juices is the manna, right?
Mhm.
And that's the thing that we share, because when we're sharing that, we then creating a better world. That's how we create a better world, not by running around after 20,000 people and trying to figure out what they need to make you feel better in life because you haven't had the confidence to figure that out for yourself.
Right.
So it's about gaining that confidence, understanding who you are in the world, and then taking the steps towards being that.
Right.
You
And I
know,
like people to also, another thing they throw at us is the fame, and they determine who's going to be famous and who's not. Good, help us. And they say you're envious. No, it'd be great if we went back to kids and adults going, what makes you more famous than me? No, I'm not going to play. My family is the famous ones in my life. I'm not going to go for this celebrity stuff or this stardom stuff or the red carpet. You can have your red carpet. I'll throw a blue carpet. It's like, what the heck? Why would we give into that? Why would we take people who fart and burp and poop and pee and say they're better than us? Why? Because they have makeup on? Why are they?
well,
No, it's a joke. They're not better. In fact, many of them are so empty and so scripted that it's like, no
it's all
thank
scripted.
no
It's all
thank you.
scripted.
Yeah, so I'd
That
love to
whole,
see a different kind of awards ceremony that's apart from Academy Awards and Tonys and things like that. Stop letting them dictate the game. Let's have a thing for people that are actually genuine people, and let's celebrate each other. It's like, oh, I'm so tired of this stupid, idiotic, shallow. Like Aiden put on a program one day, like to tease me. He knows how I feel about this stuff. So he put on this thing about women in Hollywood or something, and they're talking about, oh, I got my pet dog, and oh, I just can't stand her, and I got my bag, it's better than yours, and I'm like, Aiden, turn it off, please, turn it off, turn it off. Oh my God, turn it off. It's like, oh, I just hate her, and they're all so concerned about themselves. I'm like, turn off the narcissist show. I can't stand watching narcissists. Let them watch themselves. I'm sure they do. Like,
pretty sure they do.
yeah, I was
Pretty sure
watching
they do.
Sophia Stewart. Someone sent me a clip on Sophia Stewart. They did a compilation. Like it was kind of like fan art. They did a compilation. Oh my God. It was like amazing. It's like, I'm a prodigy. I'm a prodigy. I'm a prodigy. My mother was Cherokee and had second sight. And I envisioned I'm a prodigy. I'm a prodigy. What the hell did you create? Nothing. You haven't done a screenplay even. I was like, oh my God. God bless him for doing the compilation. It really opened my eyes. There's nothing there. There's nobody there except a ego with huge sunglasses and her boobs hanging out. I was like,
The boobs, the boobs were, I will always remember Sophia Stewart because the first time I
like,
ever saw her,
please. And now they're all
anyway,
falling apart. They're all falling apart. But I mean, God, that's what stardom, or the desire for stardom, leads you to, holding a fake Academy Award. Oh my God. Anyway, thank God that we're not in that gristmill in that system. And yeah, I was offered it. I was told I had star quality. I was going to be making it in Hollywood. Tom Hanks is going to be my mentor. Thank God that didn't turn out. And then I find him on my copyright, Tom Hanks on the copyright of the Immortals. Yeah, okay. It's going to be an interesting world when we all talk in layers. These guys in Hollywood are going to be like, can't follow the conversation. I don't know. What are you talking about? Wait, no, please just talk about one thing at a time. What? I don't understand. And we'll be like, yeah, okay, cool, let's go. What did the suits say at Warner Brothers when my work showed up? You know what they said? It's in an article. The suits went, we know we have something cool, but we don't understand it. Can you explain it to us? That's actually from the article. And Joel Silver and the Wachowskis left the table. They couldn't explain it. Joel Silver's like, well, it's robots in the program. No, it's not. It's not robots in the program. It's robot-like agents. They never got it. They're a bunch of morons sitting around. That's Hollywood and the agencies. They couldn't even figure out this one work by me. because of those of us that talk in layers and think in layers can create in layers. Mozart did. He didn't sit down and go like, here's a note. Now we're going to put this other note. Everybody else, put this note in. Okay. No, he heard the whole piece at the same time. That's what he did. And it was in layers.
Oh everybody else puts a note in too.
They don't understand layer thinking. How are you going to create? The one guy is one of my big nemesis, Christopher Nolan at Universal Studios, said, writing is like pulling teeth for me. Sure it is, because you don't understand dentistry. You don't understand the creative process at all. Ugh. Anyway, I'm glad I got to say it, because I'm just like sitting here going like, morons. Then you got Sophia Stewart on there with her boobs hanging out, huge glass. I'm a prodigy. A prodigy of what? Stupidity. I'm sorry. I've been watching it so long, and it's like I know there's many like us, many of us here together that understand the process, and here we are. We understand. It's like, just give us a steering wheel. We'll drive the car. You guys aren't big enough to reach the pedals yet. Oh. Sorry.
Oh my goodness.
That's my rant for today. Tom,
yeah.
But I'm just like,
it's like gonna reach the pedals. I remember my dad was trying to teach me how to drive the car when I was a kid, and I was just, oh, those pedals, man. Just couldn't get to those pedals.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's so great. I remember that. Oh my God. Anyway, so the world's gonna be a better place. Why? Because there's all these beautiful people on it. I call it remnant. All you guys.
Yeah, I agree.
We'll get the reins back. Yeah, after a while. As long as we're not impressed by them, as long as we're not tuned into them, a narcissist can't stand that. So if we're not going like, oh, you guys are so amazing on your red carpet, then they're going to be like, huh? If there's crickets at the Academy Awards, they'll be like, who's the people to look at us? Bigger sunglasses, more cleavage. It's like, it's not going to work, guys. It's not going to work. We're just not interested. It's kind of gross at the same time. So let's get the real people up. It's going to be a great reunion of the nice people, the people with compassion, and the people will have a better world. It's that simple. So yeah.
I agree. And on that note, the mosquitoes are biting me. So
okay. They don't like it. All right. Yes.
It's spring. The weather is sweet. So now, I don't know. I'm going to get something for these mosquitoes. Anyway.
Your chat section there. Let's celebrate ourselves. Love wins. Yes. And I love that the people see how dumb they are. Yes. Oh my God. Thank God. Yeah. It's going to be easy. And it's easy for us to create. It's easy. And we do it for each other. We do it to lift each other. So better world coming. Better world. And for those guys in Hollywood, all I got to say is, check, please. Yeah, check, please. I'm done. Thank you. Is there anything else I can get you? No, you messed up my meal.
I had my phone.
Yeah, check, please. Won't be good here.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, everybody, on that note, we're going to love and leave you. I'm being munched by mosquitoes.
Oh, shoot. Okay. All right. Well, thanks for this. So
yeah, it's such a pleasure, Tom. It's great to have you on with us on our Tuesday. We'll see you again next week, Tuesday. And yeah, guys, thank you so much. God bless you all. Like, share, subscribe, please. And yeah, join us tomorrow. We've got Double Jesse. And then, of course, on Thursday, we have Caleb, Memoirs of an Invisible Warrior. And you see the phone just went ting, ting, ting. That's certainly one to tune into. Lots of deep truths coming out there. So cool.
All right. Very good.
Okay, guys, take it easy. Let me just find what I'm looking for here so I can sign you off. God bless you all. Cheers.